Hey, everybody. Welcome to Cinemondo.
Yeah, Kathy and Mark here with a review of a film that we both watched recently that's available currently on Amazon Prime. And pretty darn good. If you're in the mood for kind of a mystery thriller, check this film out.
It's a Malayalam film.
Yes.
It's directed by Jeethu Joseph.
Yep.
And it's starring Asif Ali. And they do such a great job of the classic Hitchcockian setup. And I keep saying this about this movie. Very Hitchcock. So what they do is they give you this character who's super damaged, has compulsions he can't control. Like compulsions that are dragging him to the dark side and he cannot help himself. He's a cop. He's supposed to be kind of a good guy, but he has this temper and he gets super threatened by anyone who even does the slightest, insult to him. Even if it's like literally the look at him wrong, leaving a cafe or something and he just loses his mind and he fixates on wreaking revenge on this person way over top of what the slight has been. They push him out of the way and all of a sudden these people are going to jail because he trumped up some charges, shit like that.
Yeah, he's a guy that he is a policeman, but he takes that the uniform and uses it to his advantage in not the best ways. And the film, if we haven't mentioned, it's called Kumon, Kooman the Night Rider, and it is a Malayalam film written by K.R. Krishna Kumar and starring Asif Ali. And it's first rate all the way because, like many Malayalam films. You get to know the setting very well. You get to know you're in a village, it's a border village, which is kind of interesting. So you have like these two states right next to each other. So it's almost like if you're on the, like a town right on the Canadian-US border, you have two different sort of, social things going on. And there's this back and forth that plays into the actual plot of the film.
Yes.
But Malayalam films are very grounded, and this is grounded in this world of this police force and the town, the village, and how the village knows the police, up close and personal. When something is missing, a ring is missing, there's like 20 cops there.
And they all know them because they live with them, so they know them as cops and just as neighbors. So it's a very interesting setup. And also, I had watched Drishyam recently, and it reminded me a little of that. It's the same director. And I can see why he loves to do this. A person trapped inside some circumstances that they initially can't control, but then they, in a way, kind of tie themselves tighter and tighter into this web till even trying to get out of this mess is almost impossible. And that's where this movie kind of goes. So here we have this cop, and he has this compulsion to do revenge. So in the meantime, he starts finding he just feels antsy. What was the reason he decided to interview the thief? Was he just happened into the bar to find the thief? There's this notorious thief in town who's the thief for 30 years. He's this old man.
Well, the thief was, he had a bar tab that he would never pay. And so, our hero or the star was there, and he happened to sort of be interested in what this guy's MO was. And he was much more than just somebody that skips out on a bar tab. He's an actual thief. Right. He's somebody that actually gets off on burglarizing. So that makes him interested, the cop interested, And so he starts going down this dark path. And honestly, we don't want to give too much away of the plot because
we won't give too much away. Yeah.
It will sort of it would be something.
Don't be fooled, because the first half of this movie is not what this movie is about in a way. Basically the first half is creating that Hitchcockian circumstance that you could choose a certain way around which way you decide to go when you're trapped inside this web, and he chooses, the way that's the most complicated. But also the other thing that's happening is that there's been a lot of suicides lately. A lot of people are found hanging in this, usually in the woods, and they're trying to figure out why all of a sudden are people starting to kill themselves. That's kind of weird. So that he's working on that case. And then he's also, I think part of what he wanted to interview the thief about was kind of do you have any information? But also he started realizing he wanted to just know more about what makes the criminal mind tick. So in doing that, he discovers a compulsion inside himself where he wants the thrill that this thief was talking about, is breaking into houses while people were home. That was the big Like he just wanted.
It's much better than breaking into a house that's vacant.
That's just like no fun at all, you know.
Right.
So he gets addicted to that. So now all of a sudden there's this rash of terrible robberies in the town on top of, these deaths. So now the cops are trying to prove these robberies, which are becoming notorious, and the suicides. In the meantime, who knows more about the robberies than anyone else? So that's sort of becomes his trap. And so the trick I think to watching this movie is you watch the first half, you think it's this movie. This isn't even about the robberies anymore. Like this is way bigger than the robberies. So it's like at some point you find out the robberies are the tiniest part of this whole entire super complex, great, really beautifully written mystery that I thought was just so insane. Like when I was watching that, it's that feeling you get where you're like, there's this moment that happens. You're like, oh my God, like this is what? And all of a sudden your mind's kind of exploding. Like this has gotten huge and deeper and weirder. And like, oh my God, what is happening? So you get this really like,
when that thing happens, you realize the movie, all that other stuff was a preamble. It's maybe character development. It was like, why is he but then we go into this whole other thing, which is much deeper, much more intense, much scarier, and much darker. And the film goes that way too. Like it sort of has, I wouldn't say it's light at the beginning, but it's more like the village characters. Then as the web starts to close in on him, it becomes a darker film. There's a lot more night shots. The music becomes
tonally, the whole thing shifts. It's amazing. Really well done.
It gets very dark, visually also. And the music by Vishnu Cheyenne is really excellent. It's right up there with Bernard Herrmann / John Carpenter / the stuff that I like. It has that vibe of like, as soon as you hear it, it has a kind of a catchy sort of melody, but it's sort of this dark, catchy melody, like the Halloween theme, for instance. It has that.
Yes.
And even the song midway through incorporates that. The song is basically that theme with lyrics to it, and a little bit different. So the music really adds a lot to the setting and the scene.
And it's real unique music. Like it sounds almost like Halloween music, like this little. So when they play it over, it just has this really strange, like almost surreal quality to it. When he's trying to be all sneaky and he's breaking into houses, you have this sort of creepy Halloween music going on. It was really well done. And also what I thought was refreshing, and this is what I've seen in a lot of Malayalam films too, is that the relationships aren't this over the top kind of Bollywood romance thing. I mean, the women, in a way, for better or for worse, they kind of almost don't register in this movie. I mean, there's sort of a sweet little flirtation with one of the women in the village where they kind of exchange looks, which I thought was cute. You can tell they're shy. And then the mother who needs him, and like he's trying to take care of his mother, which gives him that thing that you need for a character like this, where he has a good side too. So the women kind of serve to just, in a way, define him more as opposed to define themselves. So it's one of those, like, at the, there's a lot of twists and turns in here, but this is mostly about this character coming to terms with his damage, what he's done, the repercussions of his actions that then ensnare him in something, he can't even get help for, like just crazy stuff. But I just thought this is, I think, one of my top 10 movies of the year. I just loved it.
Wow. Well, it's certainly, if you're in the mood for, like I said, a thriller in that Hitchcock vein, this is going to satisfy that.
And it's unique. Like I said, the setting is so unique. And even in a Hitchcock way, it's such a unique, cool setting and culture. It's great.
Yeah, that adds to it totally. And I think Malayalam films do that. I think they all bring something that you don't see in other Indian cinema or the cinema. You really get down to the nitty gritty. And it's just small things like, he's riding around on a motorcycle, on a little kind of almost scooter motorcycle to go to all the, the crime scenes and stuff, along with a bunch of people walking along the road. It's sort of like, if there's something happened over there, everybody goes over there. Yeah, it's kind of like that's probably what happens in these towns. Which I love too.
Cool. There's a scene where he thinks the jig is up. He's gonna have fine. I'm gonna turn myself in, and he lets the cop kind of drives up to him. Hey, why don't you come back with me? He's like, oh, they found me. They figured me out. Fuck. And he gets in the car. He looks like a little kid. He literally looks like he's 10 years old. And he's just like pouting in the backseat, and he's riding this endless ride where he's like, going back to the village. And I just thought that was a really funny scene. And you were also stressed because you're like, just like when I was looking at Live Watch, you're like, when does the other shoe drop? Like, he can't go on like this forever. At some point, this has to happen. And part of it has to do with someone actually does see him breaking in, and that becomes a big crux of a turning point in the film. And so then you're like, well, they know who he is. It's like, what is happening? So just really enjoyable, and just take your time with it. Just enjoy it. It's not super short, but it's also, it's relatively okay long, but it's so refreshing and different, and such a solid Hitchcock take on a good mystery that I like. It's totally worth the ride. Just have to ride it out, because it's real. You will never guess the ending.
When movies take a turn halfway through and then they take another turn like 3/4 of the way through, because that's what kind of happens here. And we will not
keeps defying your expectation. You keep thinking, "Oh, this."
Then, like the last 20 minutes, you're going, "What?" And in the very best way,
Yes. So. And we don't want to give spoilers at all, like full spoilers, because I feel like even though we've seen it, and you guys might be watching it after having seen it, I'm hoping that a lot of people haven't seen it and they just want to know if it's good. So at this point, we're going to take it easy, because the mysteries and the twists are so intrinsic to the enjoyment of this film. You people have watched it, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We don't need to tell you what we're talking about. So I hope that whoever watches this gives this movie a chance, because it really deserves it. And we don't want to spoil it for you, because you need to enjoy the spoilers.
Yeah. And it's on Amazon Prime, so it's easy to watch, easy to get. And we recommend it highly. Kumon, Malayalam, Hitchcockian, Kathy said it best, murder mystery thriller, and a bunch of other things in there too, and it's quite good. So check it out if you haven't.
Check it out. Okay, let us know what you think in the comments. If you liked it, if you've seen it, what you think. If you think it looks good, just let us know.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, bye.
Everybody, see ya.